Hello to people watching now. I'm actually waiting for Vincent to join me, and we kind of agreed maybe 2 hours ago or something that he would join me, but I guess he's been caught up doing something else. And I thought I would start before him, without him, simply because I saw 2 videos uploaded by him, and I just wanted to make a short video about this whole business, really. So, what's particularly disappointing with Church of Entropy that I mentioned in my previous video on my other channel, on my main channel, is that after I did that video, she put out another one claiming that I was actually thinking of horrible things to do to her under, well, these things I don't really know what exactly she's accusing me of, but her claims are hysterical in that she claims I want to behead her, that I want to stone her to death, or so I know she's changed the title of her video a few times. So I think once the first one, the 1 minute one, was that I wanted to behead her, and now she says Claire's not sure if she wants, whether I should be stoned to death, and entirely distorting the whole thing. I never, because she's saying terrible things about secular Koranism, I really feel I have to not treat it as a joke, and in case something, even people take it seriously. And also it's a great time, an opportunity that I cannot pass up to emphasize yet again that secular Koranism guarantees freedom of belief. So you can be atheist to polytheist and you're not going to be punished in any way at all, because chapter 2 verse 256 of the Quran guarantees freedom of belief, and it is the verse I believe that is a basis on which the First Amendment rests. Thomas Jefferson did read the Quran in his law student days. I think it's recorded in which New England law bookshop that he got his Quran from. So he did read it. There is a White House copy of the Quran, and it does contain chapter 2 verse 256. So these hysterical claims that anyone living under secular Koranism is going to be beheaded or in any way sentenced to death is false, malicious, and, of course, very inaccurate. Vincent at least understands the whole thing, because he's saying that secular Koranism is not Noahide because it doesn't execute blasphemers, idolaters, and sodomites, and I put my hands up to that and say no, nobody's going to get executed in a secular Koranist state for those reasons. But somehow Jen, Church of Entropy, has kind of turned it into me saying that I want to stone her to death or that I want to behead her. There will be a death penalty under secular Koranism because the Quran allows it. Indeed, it considers that sometimes the interests of justice require the death penalty to be imposed. And this, I think, all reasonable people can agree on. All reasonable people who are not liberals. And liberals are not really reasonable people, are they? Particularly the ones who refuse to debate. So the other terrible thing is that she has deleted my corrections. Fortunately, I have had the foresight to repeat them in my blog, Voice of Reason, because I had an inkling she would do that. She used to be quite. Well, she used to allow free speech before on, her comments onto her video, on her blog, but increasingly as her condition worsens, she is becoming more censorious and more heedless of the rules of fair play. So while I allow her to post freely in the live chat, she thinks it perfectly justifiable that I should be hidden when she streams. I guess it could be a blessing in disguise that I don't waste time trying to, get on and post while it's live, and I get a good night's sleep on Sunday mornings. So, and of course it's more orderly when you hear it again anyway at your own leisure. So I guess it's a blessing that she hides me from a chat. And it's not just me, she hides everyone, and you'll be able to read their complaints in my previous stream on my other channel, and there were about 25 people complaining about her. And not only does she censor everyone, she encourages her mods to be, trigger happy. So this is not a good lookout for the mental state of Church of Entropy. If one is in a honest, robust, and righteous frame of mind, one is happy to entertain all challenges and be only too happy that to engage with people, because any challenge is an opportunity to prove one's point, to win the argument yet again, and this is really how I treat all challenges, as an opportunity to win again. Unfortunately for Jen, because her pyramid of piffle is built on sand, she doesn't fancy engaging with me and will always delete all my comments correcting any premise that she, correcting her false premises, basically. So this is something that is to be deplored, and something that I think should be pointed out in the alt-right community. I still think that, after all that's been said and done, it's still, between the two of us, Jen and me, her and her theocracy that, nobody really believes in, and my perfectly practicable secular Koranism. And she knows it. She knows it, all right. And it's important that, people understand our different attitudes to free speech and rational argument. Because, there is just no point considering anyone else's ideas, because, it's either the status quo, carry on voting until you find a government that, you vote into office and everything will be solved and they'll be wonderful, or adopt the Wignat policy of proposing to kill and kick people out. So I'm the happy medium. I offered theocracy, Jen offers theocracy, my theocracy comes with the rule of law, and all I want is for people who don't agree with me, who don't like my idea, just read the book, read the Quran, and just tell me why you have a problem with it. And the whole point of universal education is completely pointless, isn't it? I mean, you get all these people who've been to university and they just point blank refuse to read it because they don't want to change their mind. It really is as simple as that. They don't want to change their mind, and yet they think they're being civilized, that they're being rational, when they've already said from the outset that they're not going to be moved by truth or by logic or by any moral principle. And that, I'm afraid, is Jen's position. So she reserves the right to throw rocks at me, to post in my chat, while refusing to let me post in hers to correct any misconceptions about my ideas. She refuses to join me on my stream. I'm really very happy to platform her, and so this is really my problem, and I'll come on to talk about Vincent, who is getting very popular because the demand for anti-Semitism and Jewish conspiracy theories is clearly limitless, and it doesn't matter how ridiculous and far-fetched and how remote the conspiracy theory is. It just doesn't matter. You just have to express hatred and fear, no matter how irrational, and you get platformed. So Vincent and I have had a few discussions about it. I've congratulated him on his success. He doesn't think it's anything to do with me. It's all to do with his blog, apparently. And I've said, well, it's kind of time connection, and that he suddenly became successful after being platformed by me. We did quite a few streams together, and well, almost streaming partners. But of course he's being invited on by all these anti-Semitic channels, and they don't want me because it seems I'm too sensible. So I know I tried to debate David Duke when he was doing Tree of Logic. He didn't want me. Mark Collett, who was organising the debate, didn't want me. And then recently I discovered that Mark Collett was debating civic nationalism with the what's his name? I forget his name now, but he organised the Yellow Vest protests, and clearly he's nowhere as good as me. I mean, let's just face it. There's nobody else as good as me in debate and in punching up the arguments clearly, succinctly, memorably, and so they're not going to have me on their show because I'm going to win the debate, and that's not the idea. They just want to carry on in their echo chamber and insist that what they say is true and about to happen, and I fall between two stools, because the liberal establishment, they don't like my ideas, so they're not going to platform me, and the alt-right, they don't like my ideas either, so they're not going to platform me, and so it looks like I'm just going to be ignored forever, apart from my few fans who follow me everywhere, and so my message is going to be lost. I guess there's not that much I can do about it except complain about it. But I hope you see really how it's all going to end, in that you will have no one in charge who will listen to reason, because they think, well, can't hear her, therefore she doesn't matter. And then there'll be all those people in the who are anti-establishment, and they don't want to admit that Christianity is kaput. They don't want to admit that they need a religion, that they're happy to blame Jews and Muslims, basically. I seem to have got a new follower. Hello, Vanadium. He asks, why do you platform people that call for the stoning to death of Jen Sharf? And, well, I think you know it was a joke, don't you? You can see from the context of how Omar arrived and how he responded when I invited him to speak that it was a piss take. And very, very funny it was too. And so I don't think anybody really seriously thinks that Jen Sharf is in any danger of being beheaded or stoned to death, simply because the country of her residence is not a theocracy, and certainly not an Islamic theocracy, and if it were to ever happen, it would be after she's dead, probably. So whatever danger she claims to be in fear of is impossibly remote. But still she reserves the right to be hysterical about it and maybe try and accuse me of terrible things, so my channel gets reported and that will silence me. And I suppose if I was silenced, then my message won't get through and nothing will be done, and Western civilization will continue on its current trajectory of decline and extinction. And in the meantime, people like Vincent will get platformed repeatedly on... let me just check out Adam Green's channel. I think it's hundreds of thousands of people now. Vanadium keeps asking his leading question, why do I think Church of Entropy should be beheaded? I don't think she should be beheaded at all. I don't think she's even guilty of the thing that Omar was accusing her of. Vanadium continues, by making these jokes about putting her to death, do you hope to increase the odds of having her change her mind about you and wanting to join your show? Well, actually, she was on my stream not that long ago, when everybody was on. So she's a bit unpredictable. I don't really know. I don't, really care. It's not that important anyway. But the point should be made again and again about the poverty of ideas in the alt-right, that I'm the one with anything that is that fits a description of being practicable and holistic and comprehensive, and it's not getting any traction because people are too afraid to discuss it. So whether Jen joins me or not, it doesn't really matter. When she joins me, she doesn't make that much sense. I guess it's more fun if she does. But I'm not going to not say things, in the hope that she will join me. That is really the main thing that you should understand. That I'm not going to compromise my principles in order to to have her on the show. I mean, she's very welcome to come on my show and tell me that I'm talking a bunch of rubbish and attempt to show people that what I'm saying doesn't make sense, or it's logic, it's faulty, or it's an immoral proposal. But I'm always prepared to discuss these things. But it just shows you what a low state of morality the entire West is in. So just supposing. Well, I know it's true anyway, but I mean, okay, you don't agree with me. So, but just supposing what I say is very important and is in fact the right solution. But it all gets suppressed by these, losers and unmarriageable, morally compromised men who can't discuss it either. It's not just Jen who can't discuss it. It's these losers who know they'll never get married and they don't want to talk about my ideas because it means that they have to admit that their entire lives have been wasted smoking dope, not taking, not doing as well as they could have been doing in their place of work. I mean, they've just messed up their lives and they want to blame Jews and Muslims for it. And so and they don't want any religion because they don't want to admit that they did anything wrong, and obviously they don't want to have to undergo a correction. So they think that the best thing for them to do is basically ignore me. And of course the political classes will are just as corrupt, if not more. So they'll ignore me, and of course in the meantime, people like Vincent will just get platformed because he's got this sort of crazy conspiracy theory about how the Jews are going to exterminate, are going to behead Gentiles if they happen to be living in Israel, in an Israel that's a Torah theocracy. You have to satisfy so many requirements first. Israel has to be a Torah theocracy. B, you have to be resident in it. C, you have to be guilty of these 3 capital crimes of sodomy, blasphemy, and idolatry. And then you have to be convicted of it, and then you get executed. But Vincent is just saying, well, it's going to happen real soon if you don't watch out. So you've got to repeal public law, whatever it is that he keeps saying in America, and the whole thing. It's so self-evidently anti-Semitic because these people don't know that any civilized person would have no problem at all saying Noahide laws, not a problem. So assuming that you agree with me about the 5 Noahide laws, which I think are motherhood and apple pie. The first is there should be laws against homicide, there should be laws against theft, there should be laws against sexual immorality, there should be laws against eating parts of an animal while it's still alive, leaving 2. So the other one is blasphemy and idolatry, and I'm sure a lot of people don't see the problem of idolatry because atheists don't see the problem of idolatry because they think, well, okay, so there's no God, so it doesn't matter if you want to worship one God or worship many gods, it's all the same to us. So atheists don't really care. And then there'll be and then the other one is blasphemy. So obviously we should treat God with respect. So we shouldn't be blaspheming. It's quite easy to stop yourself from doing that, I would have thought. So not really a problem for me, but obviously for people who want to blaspheme, who are really atheists because they don't care about idolatry, or Christians who just hate the idea of Jews telling them anything of telling them anything at all. But unfortunately, whether you not no, I'm not going to say unfortunately. I'm saying. Even if these anti-Semites don't like it, it remains nevertheless true that Jews have been worshipping the Abrahamic God for longer than any of the other Abrahamic faiths. And because they've been doing it for longer, that's what gives them their distinct identity. That's what gives Jews their distinct identity, that they are the world's most powerful and ancient tribe, and they can't, and those who hate Jews just can't accept that Jews have that position, because it's almost a kind of you're not one of us if you accept that Jews are God's chosen people. And I'm just saying, look, it's just a matter of fact. Their scripture says they are. So if you're a Jew and you read your scripture, and your scripture that nobody disputes is your scripture says certain things about you, you have to accept it if you want to be part of the tribe. So I don't think it's anything shocking or disgusting or whatever. But obviously, if you just sort of admit the obvious, for them it's like, you're not one of us. You're a traitor. You worship Jews. Blah 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 blah. So Jen is of that ilk. So I'm not one of the gang because I don't hate Jews. So sorry, but you can't be one of us because you don't hate Jews. So this is what I have to deal with, and obviously there's nobody above me who's going to be seen dead talking about these things, even though these things desperately need to be talked about, because you can't survive without a religion. No one can. But that's the other thing that a lot of people don't want to discuss. They don't want to discuss the fact that Christianity is kaput. They think they can muddle through because they think they've been muddling through for hundreds of years. And it's like, yeah, okay, you can, your car will probably go for quite a bit, even though it's got a puncture, until it's completely flat. But yeah, it'll go for a bit. And then you're going to have an accident. You won't be able to go fast, or if you want to go fast, you won't be able to brake. And you're saying, it doesn't matter because nothing bad has happened yet. But I know there's no one in charge. Because, yeah, the losers, they're just going to bury their heads deeper in the sand with their bottoms in the air, inviting, bottoms in the air, inviting to be kicked. But the problem is that there's no one in charge, or those in charge don't want to be seen to be sticking their necks out for what, a principle, for pointing out the obvious, when pointing out the obvious can get you into so much trouble, to the extent that you're going to lose status, employment, and I don't know. So nobody's going to stand up for the right to point out the obvious in, apparently, the Free West. So these men are too scared to say anything. I'm prepared to say it, but they're not. They're just going to pretend not to hear me. And what does Jen Shaw have to do with all of this? Well, it's because she is part of the culture. So she, all her responses of trying to suppress me, reduce me, to become hysterical about nothing, because she's just made up some lie about me, and then she thinks, oh, Claire wants to behead me, oh, Claire wants to stone me and all that. It's not just Jen who does that. Brundle did that. Brundle does that over the Noahide laws. So he wants to pretend that that the Jews want to behead him and because he's Christian. Why do they do that? I mean, why are they so crazy and stupid? And I think it's because they're left with no other identity other than the hatred and their fear. And if they fear if they lose their hate and fear, there'll be nothing at all. They might only be left with the personality particle that Jen's always going on about these days. So yeah, that's quite a thought. And it's also quite an admission, really. I mean, on the part of Adam Green, it's like he's happy to have, more and more anti-Semites with their conspiracy theories on his channel, but not me, because I have another view of these things. And, maybe he doesn't feel up to questioning me or whatever. It might upset his audience if I voice a contrary view. He might lose a few subscribers, so he's not going to be having me on. Same reasoning, I guess, for, Mark Collett and Millennial Woes. I guess they don't think they're going to win the argument, so they're not going to have it. And it's not just those people who do this. I have plenty of Facebook friends and friends in real life who adopt that tactic. So if you never engage, then you cannot ever be said to have lost the argument. But what is the point of not losing the argument when, obviously what I say is true? It's so true that after all these years, these people can't think of a better argument, even though they've had quite a lot of time to confer with each other and say, surely we can think of a better idea than Claire's. But they can't. But they're still going to not concede. They're still going to blame the Jews because that's all they can ever do. Am I just misunderstood? I think I'm deliberately being misunderstood by people who ought to know better and who in fact do know better, but it just doesn't suit their agenda. They want to paint a particular narrative of me, and for their own political purposes, for their own agenda, they want the picture that they've painted of me to be true, so they can ignore me or oppose me. They're not interested in the truth. They only want to be right. Or, if they can't be right, they want to appear to be right. So, that's really my problem, and what significance has it for you in the chat and Western civilization? It is simply this, that obvious solutions to obvious problems will never be implemented because everyone's so corrupt that they think it's not their job, it's not their place to take the risk. So centuries on, people will ask, well, why didn't they do this? Why didn't they do that? It's so obvious. But the point is, without leadership, nothing will ever get done, because everyone will just assume that it's the job of somebody else to fix things. So, so Western civilization will die of bystander apathy, because people are just shy of being the one to do the thing that needs to be done, in case somebody, I don't know, frowns at them or something. So that's kind of what I wanted to say about it. It is very disappointing that Jen is behaving in this way of, censoring everything, and, it's a sign of neurosis. I fear it is, and it will increase, and I suppose I may have something to do with it, because the more she censors me, the madder she becomes, the more I will have to say what I say, and the more I say what I say and do what I do, the madder it'll send her, and until I don't know, until she admits that she's wrong and I'm right. If you want there to be justice and correction in the world, or you just want her and people like her, women like her, in her class of her race, to just completely ignore all the problems, threaten men with withdrawal of favours, and the men will behave like women. It's like they will just yield to every threat, accept every bribe, because they don't know what else to do. They've never been. They probably don't even know what a principle is, so they can't hold on to it. They can't hold on to something they don't even understand the nature and purpose of. So what could be my next port of call? Well, I'm just going to knock on the doors of academic philosophers. So we have all these philosophers, people who've spent 3 years of their lives learning how to talk in a way that will make everyone else despise them. Academic philosophers. I'm just going to kind of ask them if they want to discuss the things I want to discuss. And I bet not a single one of them will want to engage publicly, because they'd be too afraid to be seen to be engaging with me. So yeah, I've been shunned by the fourth estate, the media, academia. It's like, if you have too many academics, then you'll have too many academics chasing too few jobs, and then the government will just say, look, you have to toe the line, you have to say what we want you to say, because if you won't, well, they will easily be able to find another academic who will say exactly what they want. We will have no difficulty at all finding some man or woman prepared to prostitute his mind to serve our cause, just in exchange for us letting them keep their job. So this is the massive sexual, moral, and intellectual corruption that just pervades the entire West. And nobody other than me is actually proposing a holistic solution of taking the bull by the horns and telling them exactly what I think will solve the problem. And if you disagree, have the courage to engage. But they won't, will they? Because they already know they can't win the argument.